What is up, guys? Sophie here, back with another topic. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can stay updated on all of my content. And don't forget to like this video and don't forget to share if you care. And also don't forget to check the description box because I always put a lot of stuff in there, including my best-selling book for single moms, which you can get by checking down in the description box. So what we're going to be talking about today is a topic specifically for single moms. This was a comment that I got under one of my videos, and I said that I would make a video about it because I get this question a lot. What to do when you continue to see your child's father and you see them around the kids being a good father and you want them back, basically. I don't know how else to put it. So at the end of the day, here's going to get some advice on what you should do. And I'm also going to put my video down below on how to get over your baby's father as well, because a lot of people find that helpful. But the first thing that you want to remember is that you need to remember the bad times too. I know that this sounds crazy, but a lot of the times, especially when it comes to people that we have children with, we can try to glamorize the relationship when the relationship was not all peaches and cream in the first place. Sometimes we will remember the good times. Sometimes we remember what it's like when we were together, and we will forget the bad times where he was emotionally abusive to us. And the specific person who asked me this question literally said in the comment section that her boyfriend was abusive towards her, both physically and verbally. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of the times when it comes to single moms, it's very easy for us to get attached to that person because we did create life with them, right? We have a child together. But it's important for us not to just glamorize the fact that because we have a child with them that they are the perfect person. Because if you broke up, oftentimes that is for a reason, whether the reason seems small, whether it seems big, whether he doesn't want to be with you and you want to be with them, or whether you broke up with him. All of that is for a reason. And so therefore you need to continue to remember those reasons and not just dwell on the good, because that will give it the relationship that you had a false sense of, oh, everything was peaches and cream, when in all actuality, it might have been crappy and it may have been horrible. And as a single mother myself, as you guys all know my story, and I will leave my single mom leveling up story in the description boxes, it was definitely like that for me when I was trying to make the situation work with my child's father. Once I took a step back and really analyzed the situation from an objective point of view, I realized that this was the hot mess express train ran over twice, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So don't just glamorize the small little things good that he does or the small little things that you miss about him, and try to look at the entirety of the situation. The second one is understand that men can make good fathers but not make good boyfriends. And so a lot of the times, if single moms see the men doing well with the children, then they'll be like, oh, well, I wish we were a family. But once again, it's like being a boyfriend can be different from being a father. They could completely be a good father, and then when you were with them, they could cheat on you with 15 different women. They could completely be good with the kids, and they can completely ignore you. Just because he's good at one thing does not necessarily make him good at another. And one thing that you have to realize is that even though you want your family as a family unit, you also deserve to have a good man, a good husband as well. It doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, he's just good with the kids, but even though he's a bad boyfriend to me, at least I have my family together and I could just watch him be wonderful to the kids, all while not being the best man to me. And that's not what you want. And so you have to kind of realize what it is that you deserve in the situation, in a family thing, right? You want somebody who can also be a good man to you and not just be focusing on the kids. And I think sometimes, once again, like I said, when we see them with the kids, we glamorize, oh, I'm going to glamorize the fact that he's such a good father, but just because he's good with them don't necessarily mean that he's good for you. And the last and the most important tip that I'm going to get into is that you need to create boundaries. It is very difficult for you to get over somebody if they are always constantly up in your face all the time, up in your energy, or if you are always seeing them. A lot of women want to feel like, oh, well, we are still a family. And I had fell into this mistake way back when, because you want to be nice and you want to be accommodating, and therefore, oh, let's all spend Christmas together as a family. And what does that do? It creates these feelings of nostalgia, of you all sitting around the Christmas tree being a happy-go-lucky family, when in all actuality, actuality, you're not that. So basically, it's like you're just making situations worse for yourself by continuously acting like a family. And you may even be confusing the children in the process. But more importantly, you don't have any boundaries. Like, how can you possibly get over somebody if they're just sitting up in your face pretending to be daddy all the time, right? Or sitting up in your house or pretending to be things as they used to be when in all actuality they're not. And so one thing that you can't feel guilty about is saying, you know what, seeing you with these children is making me feel some type of way. Therefore, I feel like it's best that you pick the children up from my mother's house, or you pick the children up and go somewhere, and that we don't, spend time in the same house together, or we don't need to spend Christmas all together as once. Maybe the kids can go there in the morning to your house and come in the afternoon. This is not mean. And I think a lot of moms feel like, oh, but I want the kids to have a family. But see, this type of behavior is confusing them more than anything, because if you're broken up and the kids kind of see like, okay, it still looks like we are an older family, then this is kind of giving them false hope, and it's also giving you false hope. And so the downside to that is when he gets ready to move on, or you get ready to move on, it's like if you move on, your boyfriend is probably not, or your new man is not probably going to tolerate your baby's father coming into your personal space and hanging around all the time up in your house with the kids. That's very inappropriate. Just like if he gets a new girlfriend, they're probably, she's probably not going to tolerate him spending time in your house and all that stuff as well. So it's important to draw boundaries and start to create a situation as a breakup family. I mean, basically, don't continue to live and be as if you guys were together, because the only thing that's going to make you do is it's going to try to make you remember the family that you lost, and is going to actually hinder you from moving forward. I think one of the biggest mistakes that single moms make, and this is kind of just reiterating all of the tips that I said, is that a lot of the times when I get this question and you dig deeper, it's like, okay, well, what do you miss about him? Well, he left me for another woman and he got somebody else. It's like, okay, but none of that is anything to miss, right? So you need to see the situation clearly. You also don't need to be afraid to separate yourself. And I have a blog post on this and I'll link it down in the description box. Separate yourself from him and not to feel bad about it in whatever way makes you feel comfortable. You don't owe him anything. You don't owe him the comfortability. You don't owe him for him to be sitting up in your face all day. You don't owe him anything, especially if it's just making you feel more depressed or it's preventing you from moving on, because the more you stay on a situation that is dead and ended, the harder it's going to be for you to move on. And a lot of single moms that I notice that find themselves in this situation, when the baby father finally does move on to somebody else, they're even more heartbroken, because while they were broken up, they never allowed themselves to get over it. And they always held on to false hope that their child's father was going to get back with them, when ultimately they're not. And the child's father is intent on moving on. And then when he moves on, the single mom is sitting up there feeling some type of way, feeling all betrayed. But at the end of the day, a lot of this you kind of brought on yourself by not drawing boundaries and not just kind of pushing him out of your life in terms of, okay, now we have to co-parent, but we don't necessarily have to be friends, especially if you still have feelings for that person, or you don't have to sit up in my face and y'all daggone sure don't need to be sleeping together. Let's be real about that, because that only convolutes things. So I guess my overall point is, however you need to do what is best for you in order to allow you to get over the situation, even though you might feel obligated to not hurt his feelings or obligated to do it a certain type of way, or even if you have the feeling that you want him to be sitting up in your face, you also have to bear the responsibility by saying, okay, having him around all the time, if it creates this feelings, this is probably just not a good idea to have him around all the time. And trust and believe, when you stop communicating, stop talking, stop texting, stop trying to be overly involved with him, or even he might be trying to be overly involved with you. But once you cut all of that off and start to give it time, then I can almost promise you that you will start to get over the situation. Now, if you're one of these people that's saying, oh, Sophia, well, my relationship was good and I want him back. Okay, well, that's a conversation that you can also also have with your child's father, but you also need to recognize that if y'all are getting into a place, you verbalize that you want to be back with him. If he doesn't want to be back with you, or if he's not making the steps to say, you know, okay, we can move back in a relationship, or I feel the same way, then once again, you need to let it go. It really don't matter how you feel, or, I mean, it matters how you feel. You get what I'm saying? But it doesn't matter what you want if he's not willing to want or give you the same thing. All right, guys. So that is about it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to check the description box for my book, and I will talk to you guys another day, another time. Bye, guys. Not ready for the show to end? It doesn't have to. You can head over to my site where you can read hundreds of articles. And also you can feel free to shop my store where I have all of my products for sale. And last but not least, for even more video content, feel free to visit my YouTube channel where I talk about a wide array of content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, stay blessed.